Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside the jaws. Fearful night and skies full of thunder, tearful like the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't turn, can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle of game. Then the child grew 10 times from the season, skated over 10 beautiful streets. Words like you're older must still be sleep, and promises that someday make histories. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle of game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone down. Car wheels through the town. Telling time won't be long now. Till we drag his feet slow the circle down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't turn, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle of game. 40 years pass by, and now the child is 20. Though his dreams have lost their grandeur, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty. All of the revolving years pass by, and the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game. And go round and round and round in the circle game.
Hello, everyone. I think we're just about ready to begin, but before we do, a few words about this theater. There's absolutely no eating or drinking in the theater. In case of an emergency exit, there are 4 exits, 2 on either side of the back of the auditorium and 2 on either side of me. Audience members, please keep all hands, legs, arms, toes, etc. in at all times. The actors will be using the bombs and the aisles to make entrances and exits throughout the performance. And finally, please turn off any and all electronic devices. This play is called Our Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, directed by Rebecca Strum, produced by the Bergen County Academy's Theater Department. In it, you will see Miriam Berger, Darian Fiorino, Jillian Rosen, Rachel Chow, Jordan Goldberg, Carlos Terriche, and many others. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just over the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is just beginning to show the first streaks of light in the east there, from behind our mountain. The morning star always does keep wonderful bright, just in the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there is the railway station. Tracks go that way. Polish towns across the tracks and some Canuck families. Congregational churches there, Presbyterian across the street, Methodist and Unitarian are there, Baptist is down in the hollow by the river, Catholic church is way beyond the tracks. Over here is our town hall and post office combined, jails and basement. Brian once made a speech from these very steps. Along here is a row of stores, hitching posts and horse blocks in front. First automobile doesn't come around for another 5 years. First one goes to Banker Cartwright, a rich citizen. Lives in the big White House up on the hill. Here's our grocery store, and this is Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in town manages to look into one of these two stores every day. Public school's yonder there, high school's farther still. Every 8:45 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons, the whole town can hear yelling, screaming coming from those schoolyards. This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. There's some scenery for those that feel they have to have scenery. And this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, heliotrope, hollyhocks, and a whole lot of burdock. In those days, the newspaper came out twice a week, the Grover's Corner Sentinel. And this is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. And over here, it's a big powder mountain tree. Nice town. You know what I mean? No one very remarkable has come out of it as far as we know. The earliest dates on the tombstones in that cemetery on the hill date far back as 1670, 1680. It's a whole mess of Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Hugheses. It's the same names you've got around here now. Well, like I said, it's still early dawn. Only lights on now are in the cottage across the tracks, where Polish mothers just had twins. And in the Joe Crowell house, where Joe Jr. is getting ready to deliver the morning paper. And in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to flag the 5:45 for Boston. Now, out in the country and all around, the lights have been on for some time now, with the milking and so on. The town folks sleep late. Well, another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, back from that baby case. And here's Mrs. Gibbs come downstairs to make her breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. New hospital's named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, though. Long time ago, in fact. She went out to go visit their daughter, Rebecca, who had married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio. And she died there. Pneumonia. But her body was brought back here. She's up there now on that hill amongst the mess of Gibbses and Hearseys. She was Julia Hearsey before she married Doc Gibbs in that Congregational church. Here in our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. And here's Mrs. Webbs come downstairs to make her breakfast too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got that call at 1:30 this morning. And there's Joe Crowell, Jr., delivering the morning paper, Mr. Webb Sentinel.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, Doc?
No, just some twins over in Polish Town.
Do you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it now. Anything interesting going on in the world since Wednesday?
Oh, yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster's, getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course it's none of my business. But I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay one.
Oh, how's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. I never think about it at all. Only like you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it tell you today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
You ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Crowell there? Joe's awful bright. Graduated from his high school here, head of his class, so he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and Joe died. In France. All that education for nothing.
No, Bessie. What's the matter with you today?
There's how you do some delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Pair of twins over to Mrs. Koroslowski's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Going to rain today, Howie.
No, fine, man. That'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Going on 17. Bessie's been all mixed up about the route ever since the log car stopped taking a quart of milk every day. She wants to leave my quart just the same. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yes. Something wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc.
Howie.
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Oh, everything all right, Frank?
I declare, easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming over at 11. I guess I know when it's about 2. You know, her stomach isn't what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than a few hours sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could get you to go away someplace and take a rest. I think it would do you good.
Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
I declare, you got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to chop me some wood.
He sasses you.
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school.
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa.
George, don't you hear your mother calling you? I guess I'll go upstairs and get 40 winks.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, you wash yourself good or I'll come up and do it myself.
Mom, what dress shall I wear?
Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and needs his sleep. I washed and ironed the yellow gingham for you special.
Ma, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, George is throwing soap at me.
I'll come up there and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in this town, too. Can you hear it? Makes blankets. Hard price on it, and it's brought them a fortune. We look for your father while we rest. Night.
Children, no, I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll set your growth. That's a fact.
I gotta know all about Canada.
You know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too when I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
My, got a lot of stuff to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
Well, I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual.
Well, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world? Do you? Money. Eat your breakfast.
Molly, pull up your pants for me. Emily, stand up straight. Tell Miss Foster that I send her my best congratulations. Can you remember that?
Yes, Mom.
It was real nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet.
Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye.
Here, chick, chick, chick. No, go away, you. Go away. Here, chick, chick, chick. Oh, now what's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. You don't belong to me. Where did you come from? Oh, don't be so scared. Nobody's going to hurt you. Oh, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still got that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know if I could choir practice tonight. It wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I should drink some of these beans.
Let me help you. Beans have been good this year.
I've decided to put 40 quarts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I've noticed they've been able to keep them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something, because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs!
Here, give me some more of those beans. Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. First, I thought he was a patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs, and he wormed his way into my parlor, and Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia
He
Gibbs!
did that old thing! Why, it was so big I didn't know where to put it, and I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know? $350. What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a real trip, I'd sell it like that. Oh, you know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, I don't know. It sounds crazy, I suppose, but for years I've been promising myself that if we ever had the chance that I'd...
What did the doctor say?
Well, I did beat about the bush a bit and told him that if I got a legacy, that's the way I put it, then I'd make him take me somewhere.
Well, what did he say?
Oh, you know how he is. Haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he says. It might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years he makes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War, and that's enough treat for anybody, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and head over to the Civil War. Only Dr. Gibbs, being one of the greatest experts in the country, just makes him despair.
It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. Times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush and pacing it all out like we were going to buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you'll get to see Paris all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life before you die, You ought to see a place where they don't talk in English. You don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now we're going to skip a few hours, but first we want to know a little bit more information about the town. Kind of a scientific account, some might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our State University to sketch in a few details of the history of man here. Is Professor Willard here? May I present Professor Willard of our State University? A few brief notes, thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Yeah. Yes. Grover's Corners. Let me see. Yeah, Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We are quite proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings. But that's all fairly more recent. 200, 300 million years old. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say, unique fossils. 2 miles out of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. These may be seen at any time at the museum in our university. That is, any reasonable time. Let me see. Oh, shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we won't have time for all that, Professor. We may have a few brief notes about the history of man here.
Yes. Anthropological data, Cotahatchee tribes. No evidence before the 10th century. Now, entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. Then, migration towards the end of the 7th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock, for the most part. And then there's Slav and Mediterranean
And the population, Professor Willard?
within the town limits, 2,640.
Just a minute, Professor Willard.
Yes. Yes, indeed. It seems that the population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Birth and mortality rates are constant. By McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Professor Willard, thank you very much. We're all very much obliged to you, I'm sure. This way, Professor. Thank you.
Not at all, ma'am. Not at all.
Now, for the political and social report, Editor Webb, is Mr. Webb here?
He'll be in here a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Oh, Charles, everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is the publisher and editor of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local newspaper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of select men. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers, Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialists, rest, indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. Little better behaved than most, probably a lot duller, but our young people seem to like it here well enough. Over 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, is there anything anyone in the audience would like to ask Mr. Webb about the town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I don't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights the farmhands like to go down to Ellery Greenhouse's stable and holler some. We've got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I wouldn't say liquor's a regular thing in the home here. Well, except for the medicine chest. Right good for the snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is there no one in town aware of...
Come forward, will you, so we can all hear you? Now, what were you saying?
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh yes, everybody is. Something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. It seems like we're all hunting, like everybody else, for a way the sensible and diligent can rise to the top, while the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it isn't easy to find. In the meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Webb! Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, there isn't much. Not in the sense you mean. Well, come to think of it, there are a few girls who play piano at the high school commencement, though they aren't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture, but maybe this is the time to tell you that we've got pleasures of another kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountains in the morning, and we all notice a great deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them, and we watch the change of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, there isn't much. Robinson Crusoe, and the Bible, and Handel's Largo, that's about it. And Whistler's Mother. Those are just about as far as we go.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll go back to the town now. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in Grover's Corners. A buzzing and a humming coming from the school buildings. Not too many buggies on Main Street. Horses dozing at the kitchen post. You remember what it's like? Doc Gibbs is in his office, tapping people and making them go, ah, and Senator Webb is pushing his lawnmower. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to cut his own grass. No, it's later than I thought. Here are the children coming home from school already.
I saw Miss Franklin smiling when you said that about I saw today I have to go home and help my mother. I promise. Next time? Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next you're calling me names. I just don't listen to you anymore.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
You go out and play baseball in the fields, young man. You've got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready
ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran had me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
You know, it's funny, Emily, I can just make out your head nights when you're doing most of your homework over in your room. You certainly do stick to it. I don't see how you could sit still that long. I guess you must like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it much. It passes the time.
Yeah. Emily, what do you think? We might work out kind of a telegraph line from your window to mine, and then you could give me a hint or two on an algebra problem. Oh, no, not the whole answers, Emily. Of course not. You know, just a little hint.
Well, I think hints are allowed. So if you get stuck, George, whistle to me. And I'll give you some hints.
You're just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah. But I want to be a farmer. My Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the talk, Emily. I better get going to the baseball field. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come and help me string these beans for the winter. George Gibson himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, he is growing up. How old would George be?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's see, he must be almost 16?
Mama, I made a speech in class today, and it was very good.
Well, you must recite it for your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase? It was like silk off a spool. I'm gonna make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bit bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously? Will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Of course you are. All my children got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
No, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I already told you yes, now that's enough of that. You got a pretty nice young face. I've never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, if I do say it, I was the prettiest girl in town. Next to Mamie Cartwright.
But Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You are pretty enough for all normal purposes.
Mama, you're no help at all. Thank you. We'll have to interrupt here again. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. You see, there are a few things we want to explore about the town. I think now is a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have begun building a bank here in Grover's Corners. Had to go all the way to Vermont, to the Marble, sorry to say. And they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people 1,000 years from now to dig up. They're putting in a copy of the New York Times, of course, and of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellows have found a way of putting all that reading matter together with a special kind of glue, a silicate glue, that'll make it keep 1,000, 2,000 years. We're putting in a copy of the Bible and of the United States Constitution, and of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think?
You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it. Yet all we know about them is the names of some kings and the copies of wheat contracts and the contracts for the sales of slaves. And yet every night, all those families sat down to dinner, and the smoke went up in the chimney, and the father came home from work. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real lives of people is what we can piece together from some of the joking poems and comedies written for the theater at the time. So I'm going to have a copy of this play put in, so that people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles and the Lindbergh flight. Do you see what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up and in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. It's evening. We can hear choir practice going on in the congregation church. Children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day is winding down like a tired clock.
Now listen here, everybody. Music came into the world to give pleasure.
Before our Father's throne,
Softer.
we pour our ardent prayers, our fears, our hopes.
Softer! Get it out of your heads! That music's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you tried. Now again, tenors! Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem? The third?
But yes, George, that's the easiest of them all.
Oh, I don't get it. You give me a hint.
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
Yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh. Square yards.
George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Square yards. Oh. I see it. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. Why, isn't the moonlight terrible? Choir practice going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Conticook. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to work.
Oh, good night. And thanks for the hint.
Good night, George.
Now, before I forget, how many of you will be able to come in next Tuesday to rehearse for Fred Hersey's wedding? Show your hands. That'll be good. That'll be right nice. We'll do the same music as we did at Jane Trowbridge's last month. Now we'll do art thou weary, art thou languid. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk.
George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only give you a minute. Now, George, how old are you?
16. Almost 17, Pa.
What do you want to do after school's over?
Like, you know, I wanted to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You'd be willing to get up early and milk and feed stock. You'd be willing to hoe and hay all day long.
Of course I will. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, while I was in my office this morning, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. There you see her, George, getting up early, washing and ironing, cooking meals all day long, and she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you. She gave up and decided that it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals, George. And you wear the clothes that she keeps nice for you. And you run off and play baseball like she's some hired girl that we keep around the house, but that we don't like very much. Well, I knew all I had to do was call your attention to it, son. Use a handkerchief. George, I've decided to raise your spending money to 25 cents a week. Not for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a sort of present to give her, but because you're getting older. And I imagine that there must be some things you must find to do with it.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see. Tomorrow's payday. You can count on it. Probably Rebecca will fish out and have some more too. What could have happened to your mother? Choir practice never was as late as this before.
Oh, it's only 8:30, Pa.
Oh, I don't know why she's in that old choir anyway. She hasn't got more voice than an old crow, and traipsing around the street at this hour of the night. Well, it's about time you retired, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
And you know, I was just saying, how unbelievable. And yet there she was doing it. Look at this. So tired. I have my kids.
Good night, Martha.
Good night. Oh, no.
I'll tell him I Good night,
don't
Mr.
want
Foster.
Thank you.
Of course. Yes.
Good night, Irma.
Night.
Real nice choir practice, wasn't it?
Myrtle, wow. Look at that moon, will you? Oh, potato rabbit for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say anything about it in front of the others. But, well, now that we're alone, well, really, it's the biggest scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Simpson!
Now, Luella.
Oh, but Julie, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk again tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Simpson.
Yes, of
and we
course.
all know about the troubles that he's been through.
Too much.
And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, then the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it? But it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near so often.
I hate to go to bed on a night like this. I better hurry. Those children won't be up till all hours. Good night, Luella. Good night.
Can you get home safe, Luella?
Oh, it's as bright as day. I can practically see Mr. Soames scowling out the window now. You'd think they'd have been to a dance the way the men folk carry on. Well, anyways, good night. Good night.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it isn't any later than usual.
And you stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Frank, don't be so grouchy. Come out and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't that wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson. Far gone, wasn't he?
Worst I've ever seen him. How will that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Simpson's affairs than anybody in this whole town. You know, Julia, some people aren't made for small-town life. I don't know how that'll end, but the best thing we can do is just to leave it alone. Now, come, get in.
No, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change, and if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Frank, you're just unreasonable.
No, start heading upstairs. First thing you know, you'll catch a cold. Oh, I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped anyways. No, start heading upstairs.
Dear, there's always so many things to pick up around here, it seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks her front door every night. All people of that part of town do.
They're all getting cityfied. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got anything fit to burgle, and everybody knows that.
Get out, Rebecca! There's only room for one at this window. You're always spoiling everything.
Well, let me just look a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. Do you know what I think, George? Do you? I think maybe the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and one day there will be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting nearer, the men who sit up nights with the telescopes would see it, and they'd talk about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America and Canada and half the whole world?
Well, probably it's.
9:30. Most of the lights are out. No. There's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yeah.
It's all quiet tonight.
Simon Stimson's rolling around a bit. Just saw his wife out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Guess most of the town's gone to bed. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along a ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you ever catch my boy smoking cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. Leastways, not more than 2 or 3 a year.
I hope not. Well, good night.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet, Papa. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it, Papa?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crofit got from the minister when she was sick. He wrote her a letter, and on the envelope it was like this. It said, Jane Crofit, the Crofit Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
So, what's funny about that?
But listen, it isn't finished. The United States of America, the continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
Well, friends, that's the first act. You can go out and take a smoke now. Goes that smoke?